Today's story is titled The Boneyard, A Gothic Tale of Eternity by SteveMcNellyFiction. The link to the story is in the description below. Please enjoy. There exists a place where many things rest, but where nothing is at peace. It is a place of untold evils and unimaginable suffering. A place where bodies buried in tainted graves bind their souls to our mortal plane, preventing them from moving on to their deserved eternity. The place's residents constantly hope that they will someday be released, to go to whichever destination they are meant for in the afterlife, because they know that anything is better than the constant torment that they currently endure. They know that even the fires of hell would be a kinder fate than to be forever confined to the Boneyard. The residents of the Boneyard spend their days trapped in agony, while the sun beats down from above the trees and washes upon their eternal graves. Maybe some of them deserve such a fate. Maybe some of them don't. Nobody can say for sure which souls deserve their circumstances, and which are merely the victims of sour luck. The lone certainty is that they endure their suffering together, a fact that does not bring them any form of comfort. Every stretch from dawn to dusk feels like its own lifetime. It is a duration in which they can do nothing but stew in their own misery and reflect upon the catastrophic hand that they have been dealt. Only with the coming of night do things at last change for them. Only with the arrival of the dark are they granted any form of relief. Because when the moon rises, so do they. Most of them awaken as incorporeal beings, separated from the same bodies that keep them trapped within their wretched homes. They can do nothing but wander the Boneyard aimlessly, passing through those ranks of crumbling tombstones and forgotten mausoleums as they stretch their non-existent legs for those few brief hours during which some sort of agency is given to them. When the sun returns to the sky, so too do they to their graves. The first rays of dawn send them right back into their spoil-covered boxes, where their torment begins anew. Those brief periods of relative freedom hardly count as a worthwhile state of being, but they are preferable to the alternative. They are far superior to the hours spent trapped down below. While most of the residents exist only as formless phantoms, some of them rise while still in possession of their bodies. They crawl from their graves with their physical forms still attached to them. They can interact with the world around them. They can touch, and to an extent, they can feel. They can even travel beyond the limits of the Boneyard for a short while, even though they will eventually be compelled to return to their graves well before the coming of the fresh sun. One might consider these corporeal residents more fortunate than the ones who no longer have functional bodies, and in some ways they are, but in other ways, they most certainly are not. Because unlike their spectral neighbors, those with tangible forms possess an overwhelming desire to feed. This hunger never allows them to rest. It taunts them and teases them at all times, including during those long, arduous hours that they are locked away in their graves. By the time the moon rises and they are at last granted their leave, they feel as though they have not fed in centuries, and so feed they must, and so feed they do. They skulk away from the boneyard and shamble their way through the trees toward the nearby village. It is here that they attempt to satiate that all-consuming hunger. The corporeal ones unleash themselves upon the first living souls that they can find, animals if need be, but a person is always preferable. Neither satisfies their hunger for very long, but human flesh, at the very least, allows them to feel full in the moment, before their stomachs quickly drain back to empty, and they are forced to begin their hunt anew. It is in this way that the corporeal ones may claim as many as 3 or 4 victims in a single night, before turning around and making their way back to their waiting graves. They re-enter their state of half-slumber feeling no less famished than they had upon leaving earlier that night, but at least the uncontrollable urge screaming in their minds has been muffled slightly for a while. It will return in full force by the rising of the next moon, but for the time being, they may be able to rest for at least a short while in a state that does not quite resemble agony. It is in this way that the residents of the Boneyard, both corporeal and bodiless alike, go about their eternal existence. There is no end in sight for them. What little capacity they have for thought is spent on the understanding that they will never be free of the torment that will surely keep hold of them forever. There is no end, and there is no escape. Such is their lot in this world, and such it always shall be. Nobody has been buried in the Boneyard for many years. It seems that the greater world has largely forgotten about the accursed place, and it is certainly better off for it. For should a fresh victim be unfortunate enough to spend their eternity there, they will quickly learn the crushing reality of their new home, which is that no soul ever escapes the Boneyard, and no soul ever will.